Good evening, internets. Today I'm going to be talking about basic hardware components of your computer, specifically what's inside your case for a desktop. My desktop is a tower, which means that it stands up tall. Then there's also a lie flat one that lies flat, and that's the ones that you might have seen before where the monitor is standing on top. And we're going to be taking a look inside and seeing all the goodies. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about the motherboard, identifying all of my different ports, also identifying the different connectors to all the vital components of my computer, because all of these are very important. They're necessary for compatibility reasons. So when you really understand this type of stuff, it really helps you get going. And finding out all of this for me ended up being really fun. Because my desktop actually uses a few components from laptops. Like, that is a thing that it does. And it was interesting trying to figure that one out. But at the very least, you'll get a good look inside my rather unique computer. But you'll still get a really good idea of what the inside of pretty much any desktop will look like from the way that I will hopefully be explaining it well. Alright, let's get started. Okay, welcome to my computer, and we're going to start from the beginning. For the record, I have a Lenovo H500 in case anybody wants to look up the specs. It is not a particularly impressive computer, but it was, it was cheap. And it actually has pretty good components for being cheap. Like, for instance, I have a terabyte hard drive. Yay, that. So, first thing you're going to need to do is right here and right here on my computer are these little screws. You're going to need to unscrew those, or however your tower works. Alright, so from there, it should just pop right off. Ta-da! And every tower is going to come with some sort of mechanism for this, alright? If you're having a hard time figuring out how to access the inside of your case, it's because you're doing something wrong, not because the case is made wrong. Now, because I am streaming this live, the computer is now on and operating, which means it is plugged into the power supply, which means I am not going to stick my fingers in there. I would very likely get shocked, and worse, I would erase all the data in my computer. So, if you're ever going to be handling any of these components, you need to completely unplug your computer, and it would be best to wear some sort of ground bracelet or static gloves or anything, but at the very least you need to unplug. And what I'm going to be doing right now is touching the top of my case. That's going to discharge at least any residue static electricity I have. But first and foremost, when I poke to things, this is why I have a rubber spatula. I can poke at things without frying myself and the computer, which is a good. Alright, so let's get started. Green thing back there is our friendly motherboard. So the motherboard is the layout, and it holds all of your computer's components, period. Motherboards come in basically 3 formats. These are called form factors: ATX, mini ATX, and micro ATX. Mine follows ATX. Alright? You can probably see the little processor fan spinning right there. So you can't see the processor, but right in the middle there is my processor. And all these little pins that are around the fan are my heatsink. The processor creates a lot of heat. And the heatsink is a way to quickly diffuse that heat away from the processor so it doesn't melt itself. And the fan immediately streams air over the metal plates in the heatsink and out of my computer. Also, yes, my computer is kind of against a wall, but I make sure to leave some space back here for airflow. And it's really important that you have airflow around your computer for this reason. All right. From my processor, it plugs into the motherboard using a basic 8-point aux. So that's how the processor communicates to the motherboard. And we're gonna do a little free-form camera work. Who's excited? And we're gonna look at the different ports that I have back here in the back of my computer. This is a VGA cable which connects to the monitor. This is USB port 1, this is USB port 2, and those actually connect to my keyboard and mouse respectively. This is USB port 3. This is a nice little fan hole for getting air to stream through my computer. A lot of computers are very much made to stream air through. This I will actually talk about in just a moment because it's kind of funny. This is my Ethernet port. These are my 3 audio ports. Pink is for microphone, green is for speakers out, blue is for audio in. For instance, if for some reason you're trying to play from a CD player straight out to your speakers, you would need input to blue, output to green. This is actually my power supply. See, you follow the cord all the way down. Yay. And this little bugger gave me so much trouble. It's called a Slim Tip, and it's only used by Lenovo and Toshiba, and so me replacing that ever is going to be a pain. It is most often used with laptops, but I have one, yay. Alright, then, gonna do a quick ride over to the front as well. So this is an SD port. This is an SD card, just to let you know. It's the little cards that you often put inside your cameras. I have a couple more USB ports because we live in the modern age and we all realize that USB ports are awesome. And I also have a couple more audio ports. So if I want to, I can connect multiple headphones in here, and that's also a microphone one. So basically this one is the exact same thing as the green one on the back, and this one is the exact same thing as the pink one on the back. Oh, and this is my DVD optical drive. Alright. Back to the case we go. You can start to see how my ports are accessing my motherboard, because everything has to access the motherboard, because basically everything has to access the processor, because the processor is doing all of the work. And the motherboard is basically the circuit board that is helping the processor communicate with everything else. There we go. VGA comes in right here, my USBs come in right there, my audio comes in right here, and kind of talking about that black box that I was talking about before, this guy out here, this is actually my Wi-Fi right here. Alright, and it connects inside my case through here, and that is my NIC, which connects directly to the motherboard right there. Not too bad, huh? I already talked about the processor. This is my memory, is my RAM. Most motherboards, especially ATX standard size, will come with more than one memory slot. Mine is, once again, cheap, so it only came with one, but it is interchangeable. It comes with 4 gigs of RAM right now, but I can trade it out for as much as 16 gigs. You would just pop that out right there and pop a new one in. This guy over here, that you can kind of see in this plate right here, is my hard disk drive. Alright, I also have an extra slot for an extra hard disk drive right here if I so wish. Okay, the hard disk drive is connected to the motherboard via a SATA cable. The term SATA cable isn't important term. Basically, you need to make sure if you're ever upgrading or changing out or getting new hard disks or anything like that, that you're getting the right cabling and ports. So this is a SATA port, and this is a SATA cable, connecting straight to the motherboard that way. And this is just a standard 16-pin power port, which travels up and then travels back to the motherboard as well so that it can transmit over to the power supply, which I have right here. For most computers, the power supply is just bigger, and mine's just not, and that's okay. So, also from up here, this is my optical disk drive, which also communicates to the motherboard via a SATA cable, which ends right there. And then up here you can kind of see more cords. All of those cords are the little ports that I told you about before, the SD port, the USB ports, and the additional audio ports. And those are connected to the motherboard down here via simple 16-pin connectors. Alright, this little guy right here, which I really don't want to touch directly, but this black bar right there, that is known as a PCI port. If I ever wanted to get a better graphics card than my little guy right there, or if I wanted to get any other sort of like additional extended cards of any type, I would plug it in right there. And I actually have extra slots over here in my case for holding it in case I ever get any more. And I have room for 1, 2, 3 slots over here. All right. And I believe that that's it. Yeah, so honestly, those are just the basics right there. You have your processor, you have your PCI, you have your RAM, you have your graphics card, you have the power ports that are connecting all the other ports. I know where all my other ports are and what they are. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my computer.